There's a moment in every industry when the rules change, not gradually, not politely, but all at once. The electric vehicle space is living through exactly that kind of moment right now. And right in the middle of it, navigating tariffs, shifting consumer sentiment, a volatile supply chain, and the looming shadow of Chinese competition, is a company that most people either deeply believe in or are watching very closely to see if it survives. That company is Rivian. And if you want to understand where it's headed, you need to understand what the last 12 months actually looked like from the inside, because from the outside, it looked complicated. From the inside, it was something else entirely. It was a foundation being built. The past year for Rivian wasn't about chasing headlines or reacting to every piece of noise in the market. It was about doing the hard, unglamorous, necessary work of preparing for what comes next. And what comes next is the R2. Before we get into what the R2 means for the company and for consumers, it's worth pausing on the environment in which Rivian has been operating, because it tells you a lot about how the company thinks and why the decisions being made right now matter so much. The Inflation Reduction Act credits for electric vehicles were never meant to be a permanent subsidy. They were always intended as a bridge, a mechanism to create pricing parity between a combustion engine vehicle and an EV, so that consumers didn't have to choose between their values and their wallets. That bridge is narrowing. And for a lot of automakers, that's terrifying. For Rivian, it became a design challenge. The response wasn't to lobby or complain or wait and see. The response was to engineer a car that could stand on its own without the crutch of tax incentives. That's where the R2 was born, not just as a product, but as a thesis. The thesis is this: if you can build an electric vehicle that performs at an elite level, carries a starting price below the average new vehicle price in the United States, and does so without stripping out what makes the brand worth caring about, then you don't need tax credits to drive demand. You need a great car. The R2 starts at approximately $45,000. The average new vehicle price in the United States today sits at around $50,000. That's not a coincidence. That's intentional. That's what years of engineering trade-offs, supply chain negotiations, and design decisions look like when they finally come together. And what does $45,000 actually get you? It gets you over 600 horsepower. It gets you more than 300 miles of range. It gets you a 5-passenger SUV that doesn't ask you to compromise performance for affordability or affordability for performance. It gets you a Rivian. For a company that built its reputation on the R1T truck and the R1S SUV, vehicles with average selling prices around $90,000, the move to a $45,000 product isn't a step down. It's a strategic expansion. The R1 vehicles didn't just sell well in their segment, they dominated it. The R1S became the best-selling SUV over $70,000 in the state of California. Not best-selling EV over $70,000. Best-selling SUV, combustion engine or electric, over $70,000. In California. That's not a niche achievement, that's a statement. And that statement gave Rivian the credibility and the customer trust to now go broader, to speak to the 90% of consumers who are still buying combustion engine vehicles and say, "We built something for you too." But let's not skip over the part where this nearly didn't happen, or at least where the path got very complicated very fast. Because right as the R2 was being developed, the world started adding friction. Tariffs became a front-page issue. Supply chains that had already been stressed by pandemic-era disruptions were now being reshaped by geopolitical decisions made in real time. The rise of data centers and the explosion of AI infrastructure created unexpected competition for the kinds of semiconductor components that modern electric vehicles depend on. Memory chips, processing units, the kinds of components you don't always think about when you think about a car. Suddenly, everyone needed them at once. Prices moved. Timelines shifted. and automakers that were heavily dependent on overseas supply chains started feeling that pressure in ways that showed up directly in their cost structures. Rivian was not immune to any of this, but it was in a structurally better position than most. 100% of Rivian's manufacturing happens in the United States. Not most of it, all of it. The facility in Normal, Illinois is where every Rivian vehicle is built, and the majority of the supply chain feeding that facility is either domestic or compliant with the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. When tariffs hit, they hit the industry broadly, but they hit Rivian at a much lower amplitude than competitors who were more globally exposed. That geographic alignment wasn't just patriotic positioning, it was smart business. And it's about to get even more significant as the company prepares to add 2,000 new roles at the Normal facility and bring a new plant in Georgia online, a facility that will create approximately 7,500 additional American jobs. These aren't talking points. These are the structural decisions that determine whether a company can absorb cost shocks or collapse under them. Now, here's where things get genuinely interesting and a little geopolitically charged. Rivian is preparing to bring the R2 to European markets, not because it's an obvious next step, but because the R2 was designed with that possibility in mind from the beginning. The R1 vehicles, the truck and the three-row SUV, were unambiguously North American in their form factor, wide, long, built for American roads and American tastes. The global market wasn't really in the conversation during those early years. The R2 is different. The two-row SUV is the largest vehicle segment globally. It's not a North American preference or a European preference, it's a global preference. And Rivian designed the R2 to fit that world. This is the moment when Rivian stops being an American EV company and starts becoming something with a genuinely global identity. Which brings us to the elephant in the room, or more precisely, the fleet of electric vehicles being produced at scale by a country that has spent the last decade investing so aggressively in EV technology and manufacturing that the rest of the world is still trying to figure out how to respond. China. The Chinese EV market is not some distant threat on the horizon. It is an active, aggressive, capable competitor producing vehicles at price points and volumes that have made legacy automakers deeply uncomfortable. Some of those legacy automakers, the companies that have been building cars for 100 years, that have global dealer networks and brand recognition that took generations to build, have looked at the Chinese EV landscape and said plainly that the United States cannot compete on a level playing field. They've argued that even without tariff advantages, even without subsidies, the structural cost advantages that Chinese manufacturers have built are so significant that it's not a winnable fight. They're suggesting, in some cases explicitly, that the smart move might be to retreat from the EV space and let China have it. That framing deserves to be pushed back on. Hard, because it assumes that the legacy platform is the relevant baseline. And it's not. The conversation that never gets enough attention is the one about what it means to build a vehicle from a clean sheet, from absolute zero, with no legacy architecture to drag along. No internal combustion engine assumptions baked into the design. No decades of manufacturing process built around. A fundamentally different kind of machine. Chinese EV manufacturers built from a clean sheet. And so did Rivian. That shared starting point matters enormously. When you build a software-defined vehicle from scratch, when you design the architecture, the sensors, the over-the-air update capability, the driver assistance systems all as a unified whole rather than bolting technology onto an existing platform, you get structural advantages that are very difficult to replicate from a legacy position. The cost efficiencies aren't just about labor or materials. They're embedded in the design itself. When you level the playing field, same labor costs, same access to materials, same regulatory environment, the gap between a company like Rivian and the Chinese competitors becomes much less alarming than the legacy automakers would have you believe. That's not arrogance. That's a structural argument about what it means to be a clean sheet manufacturer in an industry that is undergoing a once-in-a-generation technology transition. The differentiation for Rivian in a global competitive landscape comes down to a few things that are genuinely hard to replicate. The software-defined architecture, the over-the-air capabilities, the advanced autonomy features already being developed and integrated, and the brand, the adventurous, performance-driven, unmistakably Rivian identity that has built a real and loyal customer base in one of the most scrutinized, competitive automotive markets in the world. Then there's the question of consumer sentiment, which has gotten complicated in ways that nobody fully anticipated. There is a real and documented shift in how some consumers relate to the environmental or sustainability narrative around electric vehicles. The political temperature has changed. The green agenda framing has become polarizing in ways that affect how products are perceived before a single person drives one. For a brand that launched with a strong environmental identity, that shift could be a significant headwind. The response from Rivian on this is actually one of the more strategically sound positions in the entire industry. Stop leading with the environmental argument and start leading with the product. The best car in the market doesn't need an ideological reason to win. It just needs to be driven, getting consumers behind the wheel, actually experiencing what a Rivian does, how it accelerates, how it handles, what it feels like to drive something that was engineered without compromise from the ground up, is the most powerful marketing tool available. Range anxiety, which was the defining consumer objection to EVs just a few years ago, looks very different in a vehicle with over 300 miles of range. The objections don't disappear, but they weaken considerably when the product answers them directly. There's a version of the Rivian story that is purely about survival, a startup that burned through capital-faced production challenges, navigated a brutal public market environment, and is now trying to find its footing. That story is real, and it would be dishonest to pretend it isn't. But it's not the whole story, and increasingly, it's not even the most relevant part of the story. The more important story is what the R2 represents strategically. It's the moment when Rivian moves from serving a premium niche to competing for the mainstream. From speaking to early adopters with high incomes and high tolerance for novelty, to speaking to the ordinary consumer who just wants a great vehicle that doesn't cost them in ways they can't afford. That transition is brutally difficult. Most companies that try it fail. The product requirements are different. The supply chain requirements are different. The marketing is different. The customer service expectations are different. Everything is different when you go from $90,000 to $45,000 and try to do it without losing the quality and the identity that made people care about you in the first place. The way Rivian is approaching it, through engineering discipline, domestic manufacturing advantages, supply chain localization, and a product that genuinely punches above its price class in performance, suggests a company that has thought carefully about what this transition requires. It's not guaranteed to work. Nothing in this industry is guaranteed to work, but the logic is sound, and the execution, at least in terms of what has been communicated and what can be observed, is more coherent than it often gets credit for. And then there's the longer arc. The question that sits at the very end of every conversation about electric vehicles, the one that makes all the near-term debates about price points and tariffs and supply chains feel almost quaint by comparison. Autonomy, the future that Rivian is working toward seriously, not as a marketing concept but as an engineering and product roadmap, is a Level 4 capable vehicle. A vehicle you personally own, that can drive your kids to soccer practice without you in the seat, that can get itself to the airport and drop you off without needing to be retrieved, that can operate in defined conditions without any human involvement at all. No exact timeline has been offered, because in this space, timelines are the enemy of credibility. But the direction is unambiguous. The work is happening. The architecture of Rivian's vehicles, software-defined, sensor-rich, built for over-the-air updates and continuous improvement, was designed with this future in mind from the beginning. What makes this more than just a company story is what it represents for the broader question of whether the United States can be a meaningful player in the next generation of automotive technology. That question has been answered pessimistically by some very large, very experienced companies. The argument that China has already won, that the gap is too wide, that the structural advantages are too entrenched, that argument exists. And serious people are making it. But it is not the only argument. And it is not, based on the evidence available right now, a settled conclusion. There is a counter-argument being made in real time in a manufacturing facility in Normal, Illinois, in the engineering decisions behind a $45,000 electric SUV that delivers over 600 horsepower and 300 miles of range, in the supply chain decisions that kept tariff exposure manageable while competitors buckled, in the job creation that will add nearly 10,000 American manufacturing roles across 2 facilities. That counter-argument is Rivian. Whether the R2 launch fulfills its promise will tell us a great deal, not just about one company's future, but about whether a new kind of American automaker can find a path through one of the most competitive, most consequential industrial transitions in modern history. The product is ready. The market is waiting. And the next chapter starts now.